You're listening to This is Ibrox, your Rangers podcast, brought to you by Triple H Mortgages, the one-stop shop for all your mortgage and mortgage insurance needs. Contact them on 01453 887179 or via email hello@hhhmortgages.com.
This is Ibrox.
Run away tonight, leave the city, we'll be fine. Blowing up like dynamite, I never meant to make you cry. Make your mind up.
Hello and welcome to your second instalment of This is Ibrox. It's your Rangers women's podcast, fresh on the back of the successful initial pod that we had with Nicola Docherty a couple of weeks ago. We're back, they've allowed us to do it again, and the club have been really helpful in supporting us, we have to say, so thanks again to them from the off. Joining me as per last week, we're joined by Graham Falk and Courtney MacKenzie. Hi guys, how are you doing? Graham, you well?
Always good. Yeah, always good. Not too bad at all.
And Courtney, welcome back. We're doing it again.
It's a pleasure to be here, buzzing for this one as always.
So Graham, before we introduce our guest tonight, I have to say you look quite fresh considering your team won a trophy at the weekend.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, was it? It was a trophy. Yeah, it was in a way. It was more just winning at Wembley. I think we've never won at Wembley in my lifetime, but it's difficult to get drunk.
Did you manage?
Really celebrate. I got really, really, really heavily drunk the night beforehand, so I don't know what that says about me. And kind of suffered the next day, but I still managed to get a few in here with the dog. But yeah, I'm relatively fresh. I've been renovating the house, so that the paint fumes, I think, have sobered me up ever so slightly.
Joking aside, and I don't want to get too much into it, but from a Sunderland are a big team in that part of the country. I think does winning a trophy kind of put them back into a sort of a track, if you like, do you think?
It's very much that, yeah. It's very much, I think anyone who watches football knows that the spiral we've been on, it's been very much downward. And I think obviously there'll be a lot of Rangers fans who will understand what it's like to kind of have that first trophy and come back up after sort of the recent years that we've had with Rangers as well. But yeah, it was not so much the trophy itself is not the biggest trophy on the planet. It's sponsored by a pizza company, for crying out loud. But yeah, just getting the first thing on board, getting that Wembley Heath offer back, not doing a Sunderland, and hopefully onwards and upwards, and hopefully we'll be winning the Champions League in about 5-6 years' time. So
yeah, we'll watch out for that. Courtney, thanks for joining us again. As I say, fresh on the back of a Conor Goldson article going out on our This is Ibrox pages this week. Great coverage. He's had a cracking season for us this year, hasn't he, so far?
Oh, he's been amazing. I think so many people slept on him at first and obviously didn't think he was worthy of the shirt, and probably quite rightly didn't have a good wee spell for a while, but I think he's been outstanding. Everything about him has just been so creditable this season.
Back to the women then. So we're really pleased to say that on the second episode of the pod, we're joined by Kirsty Howat. Kirsty, hi, how are you doing?
Hiya, how you doing? Thanks very much for having me on.
No, you're very welcome.
I listened to Nicola's one, so hopefully I can follow on and be as successful as her podcast was.
No pressure, eh?
I know, yeah. Big boots to fill.
Indeed. So I think we'll get straight into it. It's, as I say, Scott Paterson. I'll host this for the next hour or so. Graham and Courtney will fire in with questions as the time goes by. I think it's right that we go to the fact that you guys have returned to training now. You're a week back into training. How's that been, trying to get back into that routine for you?
I mean, the legs are feeling it this week, to be honest. But yeah, it's been great. It's what we've wanted for so long now. You know, we had such a successful first part of the season. And then the break kind of came at a bad time for us, to be honest, just because we were flying by the end of that first 7 games. You know, we got that result off Glasgow City. And then the break came, and then after that Christmas break, I think we had 4 days of training, and then we got put into a second lockdown. So, yeah, we've waited a long time. The full squad have been keeping really, really fit. You know, sports science have been running us into the ground, literally. So everyone's came back in really good shape, and everyone's just really buzzing now. We've got a friendly on Sunday, and then our first league game in a couple of weeks. So yeah, just really looking forward to getting back into games and getting hopefully back into winning ways.
So, see, after being away for so long, it must be hard to sort of get back into the swing of things of just training, knowing that the first competitive game is a good couple of weeks away even now. Have you found that you have managed to get back into that routine relatively easily, or has it been difficult? Have you found it a bit of a challenge, do you think?
Well, our running programs were kind of based on the same training days, and me personally, I tried to kind of keep it like really consistent. So I would get up, have my breakfast, and I'd go and do my running as if I would get up, have my breakfast, go to training type thing.
Ideal.
So I think a lot of the girls were the same, just trying to keep into a routine. So when we've came back in, it's been fine. And obviously I've not actually been in for that long, only for a couple of months, like actually in the training centre. But I don't think we've found it too bad coming back in. It's just mainly the football and minds, trying to get them back going, the brain switching on, and the legs are feeling it a little bit in the hips just from kicking a ball, because it's nothing really compares to actually playing games and training with a football rather than just running and keeping your kind of cardio going. But no, the sun's helped this week as well, so smells all round really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's amazing what a bit his son does. I see you guys on Instagram, and he's are posting it. He's are quite happy with the sun in the background and getting a run about with the ball at your feet. So it's it
it's what everyone wants, really, isn't it?
It does, of course it
What a
does.
dream.
It breeds good times. You're absolutely right. What a dream, as you say. So I think I'm going to rewind it back 10, 15 years, if you like. Let us know how football came into your life. Who was your sort of idols, if you like, at the time? How did it start for you?
So for me, it was just in the back garden with my dad kicking a ball about at any opportunity I had. I think I started around 3 or 4.
Okay.
And then from there, my dad took me along to like a mini kickers, SFA mini kickers type thing. And just played all the time whenever I could at school, lunchtime, scoff my lunch down, straight out into the playground with all the boys. If you were last out, you got a rubbish team, so it was one of them ones. But yeah, and then that group of boys that I went to school with, I went to the local boys team, youth team, Locker Thistle, played with them, this same group all the way through until I had to then move on to women's football. But my dad pushed me and supported me the full way, to be honest. But in terms of inspiring people, Rangers players, obviously, because I'm a big Rangers fan. My kind of era was people like Nacho Novo, Dado Pursto, Barry Ferguson, obviously, unbelievable player. In terms of women's role models, there wasn't that many, to be honest. Not as many as girls have now. It's really took a massive step, but probably Julie Fleeting. I'm sure Nick said the same. That was the kind of, and my dad would always tell me about her as well. I never really actually got to watch her growing up, but my dad would always tell me about her, scoring goals for fun down at Arsenal in Scotland. But yeah, just loved football, played it whenever I could, every second of the day, apart from sitting in the classroom at school. But literally, just couldn't keep a ball away from me. Just loved it.
Graham, it's funny to hear Kirsty refer to Julie Fleeting again. As she rightly says, Nicola Docherty referred to her as well. Isn't it amazing that one person has influenced two young women at an early stage in their life, and they've went on to do what they're doing now?
Yeah, and it's great, and I think it really shows, and hopefully you'll probably agree with me here, Kirsty, there's a lot of people who've said that, media, the Women's World Cup and all that kind of stuff, it was never about like seeing the quality of it and all that kind of stuff. It was actually just seeing it. And obviously that was someone that you could see an awful lot. And I mean, I did an article the other day for the Scotsman, and I think it was the 10 most influential Scottish women in football at the moment. And I had such an abundance of choice. I probably could have done a list of 30. I'm just a bit lazy. Don't tell the editor that. But I think these days it's like you could say, like, for example, you could speak to maybe a women's footballer in 10, 15 years time, or even a younger girl now coming through, and they can give you probably 10 players that have influenced them. But there's always those pioneers, isn't there, that have like began at the start. I think Kelly Smith's a big one for a lot of the English girls as well. They'll kind of almost automatically go to her. You'll see some of the younger girls coming through at numerous football clubs, like 18, 19, one would be love to say Jill Scott. Kim Little, those sort of players that have been around a while. But it's only getting bigger and stronger. And who knows, Kirsty, you might be in 10 years' time, you might be the one that people are mentioning.
Yeah, hopefully not. It really is. It's like you said, it's so cliche, but if you can't see someone being someone that you want to be, do you know what I mean? Like, I only really spoke about Julie Fleeting, but now, as you say, girls have got so many, especially in Scotland. There's so many girls. You know, that full squad that went to the World Cup. Yeah, you could choose any one of them to be a role model. It's just amazing. And yeah, if you thinking back 10 years ago, I really didn't think that would be the case, to be honest. Being brutally honest, but yeah, the game in Scotland's taking leaps and bounds, and it's only going in the right direction.
Courtney, I think. Sorry, Graham, you carry on.
I was reading a list the other day talking about lists of players and things like that, and I think it was the 100 best female footballers in the world, and the amount of Scottish players that were in the top 20 is like massive. I think a lot of times people speak about how good the Scottish men's team is and how good it's been over a long time that they're getting to a tournament. Like, look at the women's team as well as some of the best players in the world over that side. Caroline Weir I seen the other week, I think, for the first time in the flesh, and she was outstanding, absolutely outstanding. And like, I think it's nice that girls be able to go to games now and get excited about seeing players, whereas maybe 10, 15 years ago, unfortunately, because of the lack of media coverage, they probably didn't. Now you get excited. Like, I went to see Man City the other week, commenting on that game, and there was Lucy Bronze, there was Caroline Weir, there was Abby Dahlkemper, there was players right across the park that were worldwide names pretty much, to be honest, and some of them from Scotland.
Courtney, we've spoke about it before, indeed, again, when Nicola was on, the influence in the media. Graham sort of refers to media there, but I think the influence of the media, people like Alex Scott and up here, Leanne Crichton, I think the influence of having these ladies in the game and almost commenting on and commentating certainly on the men's game, I think instantly raises the profile, because you're instantaneously wondering, who are these people? What's their background? What have they done? And it just opens up a different avenue of conversation.
Definitely. I mean, it does start from home. I remember watching, I think, was it the Wraith Rovers game the other night, and Leanne Crichton was commentating on it, and I remember my dad saying, "Oh, that's Leanne Crichton. She plays for City, doesn't she?" And I'm like, my dad being like an old man, the older generation maybe wouldn't take so much interest in women's football, but I mean, it's people like my dad and people with like older ages. They're definitely trying to come to terms that women's football is becoming a bigger thing in Scotland, and women are now coming into these roles that predominantly at one point were men's roles, football commentators, and they don't have to just commentate on women's football, they can commentate on men's football as well. And indeed. I think one day the gender will be taken out from before the word football. It's got to happen.
Kirsty, speak to us about the move to Glasgow City. Tell us how that came about.
To Glasgow City or from Glasgow City, sorry?
Will do from. Tell us how you got there in the first instance.
What, to Rangers?
No, to Glasgow. So when you went to Glasgow City, yeah, absolutely.
So I got a phone call, or it was actually through a friend. Just Scott Booth wanted to chat with me, so met him for a coffee, and I think at the time I was 18, 19, just still at uni. So I was obviously trying to finish my degree, because that was a big part that my family kind of homed in to get your education. But spoke to Scott, and I think mainly it was just, obviously they won titles, they won trophies, they won cups, they were in Champions League, and for me it was a step that I really wanted to take to go and try and challenge myself. I knew that maybe to start with I wouldn't get any game time, or very little game time, but it was for me to then really push myself and learn from the other experienced players in the team, but then try and go and push for game time. And I think in my first season I did end up actually getting more game time than I thought, and I think I scored 20 odd goals, and then from there I managed to become a regular first team starter. And Scott was really, really good with me. He being a striker really helped me in terms of my movement, my hold-up play, my linking play, and then he expected a lot and demanded a lot from me in terms of getting on the end of crosses, because as a striker at City, you're expected to score because of the people around you. You've got a Hayley Lauder whipping balls in onto the edge of the 6-yard box, and it's had to happen any day of the week. If you get your movement right. But yeah, it was just a random phone call, and as I said, spoke to a couple of girls that I knew at City, and yeah, just was really excited by what he had to say to me and what he had to offer, and yeah, decided to go, and I loved every second of being at Glasgow City in my 2.5 seasons before I came to Rangers.
So I'm interested I hear you reference the Women's Champions League. So it's obviously across football, big business. Everyone knows that. How did you find the step up in quality from where you were maybe in Glasgow City terms back then to maybe going abroad to play in a Champions League tie? Was it a huge hike in difference of quality?
I think once you got to the later stages of the competition, yeah, that step was massive. But the group stages and the last 32 was kind of on par, or actually less, depending on who you got. Yeah. Was on par with Scotland. But as soon as you managed to get over that last 32 line, then last 16 and last 8, which we managed to get to just in the last season there, the jump was massive. You know, we played Barcelona in the last 16, my first season, and honestly, like, I can't actually explain. They were like whistling on the pitch, and we were like, what is going on here? Like, this is incredible. They're like whistling to switch the ball, and we're like, who's whistling? Why is the girls whistling on the pitch? Like, they're just like oozed class. They were so good, and that's when I kind of realised, like, yeah, the gap between the top team in Scotland and, you know, the second team in Spain is just incredible. And then the next season we managed to go one further and get to the last 8, and we played Wolfsburg, which again, I actually didn't get a lot of game time, but even just watching from the stand it's just a different level. It's kind of different. Obviously, the men's game, I think, in terms of physicality and speed and stuff, they're sometimes able to match, but in the women's game, that gap is just so big. And, you know, it's where you want to be and where you aspire to get to. Yeah. And it's great to put yourself out there and challenge yourself against the really, really top players. But yeah, just the two teams that we played, we just couldn't get close to them. We tried every form of tactic, and we just couldn't get close to them. I
think from yourself as well, from a purely learning experience, if you were going over there and you thought, right, we're not maybe going to be successful over here. However, what I can learn in maybe a day with these guys could be really invaluable. You might never get the chance to learn it again.
Yeah, definitely. Especially looking back on the video and the analysis and stuff, like their movement, their sharpness, just everything they've done, like moving up as a team, sliding as a team. As soon as they lose the ball, they won it back in numbers, 3s, 4s, and that is the step up in women's football, and especially when you go into the Champions League. And I think at Rangers, that's ultimately our goal. There's 2 places this season as well. There's first and second, so that's got to be in our sights. And yeah, hopefully we'll get there, and it'll be interesting to see, you know, how we cope as a squad if we do get into Europe.
Graham, it's interesting to hear Kirsty talk about Barcelona there and that hunting in packs kind of theory. I think one of the things that we see at Rangers just now throughout the training centre and upwards into the different levels right up to the senior squad is that they're playing a certain uniform way, if you like. One of the things that I'm taking from what Kirsty says is almost that the Barcelona women's team was playing in a similar fashion to what guys like Busquets, Iniesta and Xavi were playing back then. I know that's maybe a bit before those days, Kirsty, but what my point is that they're playing in an absolute identical identity.
Yeah, they played like Barcelona, to be honest. Yeah. That's obviously the way that they play.
I think there is like a belief system within a club though, isn't there? I think like I seen Manchester City under 18s, and it was literally like watching a load of like mini-me's on the pitch, because they're doing the same thing, but it was just like they were just much smaller and obviously miles younger. One thing I did want to ask Kirsty, when you talked about the gap that is in there between obviously the clubs, is it it's simple to say that the gap in quality between clubs like Barcelona and maybe like Scottish leagues, English leagues, and stuff like that is down to investment that the clubs put into the women's team, or do you think it's more than that? Do you think they've started their progression of women's football earlier than maybe clubs in Scotland have or the UK have?
Yeah, it's probably a little bit of both, to be honest. Obviously, the German league, the Swedish league, I think the Spanish league actually started a little bit later, but certainly like the German league, they've been professional for a long time, and that obviously helps for the big teams to then get more investment, grow as like teams, go and push on in Champions League and get a lot more money to then buy better players. Same as the men's game really, but yeah, I think obviously. In terms of Scotland, there's not a lot of money in Scottish football as a whole. So if you then narrow it down to Scottish women's football, again, there's really not a lot of money. So yeah, I think it does kind of come down to investment as well. Obviously Rangers, Celtic and City have now boosted a lot of money into the women's game. So hopefully that does start to then grow the game even further in Scotland, and it maybe pushes more teams to become professional. But there definitely is a gap, and I think anyone that says there isn't between Scottish teams and the big teams in Europe will be lying, to be honest.
Kind of the sort of the progression and stuff starting when it did. Probably something I'd be quite interested in, going back to your time at Glasgow City. I've spoke to Laura Montgomery a few times, and like I'm always like quite in awe of like how clever she is and how well she speaks, to be completely honest with you. How big of a pull was having her at the club as well when you were in Glasgow City, and how much did she teach you just about making it in the women's game basically?
Yeah, I've seen Laura really grow Glasgow City over the past 10 years or so. And she's such an iconic figure for that club and for the women's game and for women's football in Scotland especially. She really pushes a lot of things in that people don't actually see. She gets a lot of things over the line. But my time at Glasgow City probably didn't end the way that I wanted it to end, just because I wanted to get out earlier to go to Rangers, and I was seemingly in a professional contract, and there was a lot of things that I don't really want to get into, to be honest. But Laura Montgomery is a great person, and she's really driven the game forward in Scotland. That's all I'm going to say about that.
So, Kirsty, I think sorry, Courtney, were you going to ask something there? Carry on.
I was just going to say there, just going back to the Champions League, and obviously that gap between the clubs, like obviously Glasgow City and Wolfsburg, but in your personal opinion, what do you think it will take for a Scottish club to go ahead and maybe even go into a final? I wouldn't say win it, because I don't want to speak too prematurely, but what do you think it would take for a Scottish club like Rangers or Glasgow City to go ahead and even make it to a final?
I don't actually know the answer, to be honest. I think the teams like your Leons, your Wolfsburgs, obviously their budget is I'm pretty sure Wolfsburg's budget was bigger than just about every Scottish Premier League's team apart from Rangers and Celtic. They had a bigger budget than, say, your Aberdeens, your Hearts, your Hibs. So that kind of puts it into perspective a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it probably is just investment. If we can start to win titles and get into Champions League and get a little bit more money, we will attract bigger players. If we can also keep obviously the core of our team to then stick together and really work and push to get to the Champions League. To be honest, I do think we as a team this season could go pretty far in Europe. I would say that we're up there with the Glasgow City teams I've played in the past couple of seasons, and I just think for us at Glasgow City, when we done so well, it was because, yes, we obviously played good football, but we had such a good team feeling, team environment. We dug deep, especially in our last 32 game our last 16 game where we took Bromley to penalties and actually went and done it extra time and then won penalties. Our team mentality was incredible. So I think that we could definitely go and push, but I honestly don't know how we could compete with a Wolfsburg and Lyon unless there was a lot of investment. It's such a hard question because, it's so hard to explain how good they actually are, like, genuinely. And that's just being brutally honest.
It doesn't help that obviously, like, Pernilla Harders went for Wolfsburg.
Yeah, she's went to Chelsea, yeah.
England's best team, one of England's best teams. She's went for one another. She'll be in the Champions League probably for many years to come.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So listen, Kirsty, I want to go back to your so you were at Glasgow City for 2.5 years, I think you said, and really successful there, lots of goals, Champions League performances, etc. And two things: Rangers go professional and come knocking on your door. I just wonder what attracted you most, if it was the opportunity to go professional at a good age, or was it secondly the fact that Rangers came knocking on your door?
I think I'd be lying if I didn't say it was the fact that Rangers came knocking on my door, to be honest. Yeah, you know, when I spoke to my agent, and he told me that Rangers were looking to speak to me and potentially sign me. I was taken aback. Yeah, it was a no-brainer. Also, obviously, as you said, you know, the fact that it is fully professional. I was working as a teacher, PE teacher at the time.
Right.
So I was having to go to work for 8 o'clock, work all day, do after-school clubs, take a snack and eat it in the car over to training, get home at 8 and do it all again. But I loved it. I actually loved every second of it, and leaving my job was such a hard decision. But yeah, the fact that it was Rangers was amazing, absolutely amazing. And professional contract is something that I've dreamed of since I started playing football. I always said when I was younger I wanted to be a footballer, but I think everyone says they want to be a footballer when they're growing up. So yeah, it was a dream.
So Graham, I think what Kirsty's kind of piddled around saying is that day jobs that you and I have are absolutely torture, aren't they?
I love my job, I guess, but yes,
of course.
At the same time, it's like, I mean, I spoke to Nicola about this a little bit, and obviously I've seen it at close quarters, where people are playing football voluntarily at the level that I cover with the club I cover. But I think sometimes people, forget unfortunately, when the comparisons do come in, because they do happen. I think people forget how much sacrifice almost every single player's had to make before they even reach professional, if they even do. My question to you, Kirsty, with that would be, what difference did you notice in you yourself, both physically and mentally, when you could concentrate solely on football and not have to worry about your job on your 9 to 5?
Yeah, honestly, it's amazing. Ever since I was at high school, I was doing school training. Then I went to uni, I was doing my uni work and training, and then I was working as a teacher, as I said, and then trying to focus on training. And, to be honest, I probably will say that my football was probably before everything else, to be honest. Absolutely. But I still got my uni degree, I still was successful in my job and stuff. But yeah, just being able to fully focus on football is incredible. It's little things like being able to do my gym sessions 3-4 times a week, which before I'd come in from work and I'd be like, this is a slog, like I'd maybe just miss a session out, literally, because you know what it's like when you get in from work and you're shattered. The last thing you want to do is going to do your strength session. Yeah. But yeah, just little things like getting my nutrition right. We get food straight after training. I can come home, I can chill, I can rest up, fully recover from a session instead of the next day walking about all day, running after everything in the school, kids, balls, shuttlecocks, whatever, you name it, I've ran after it. But yeah, honestly, it's just little things like just being able to recover when I come home, eating the right things at the right times, not having little snacks here or there. But just being able to fully focus on it it's honestly something that I've wanted to do for so long, and I'm just so glad that I can do it. And at Rangers is a bonus, really. And
one thing I quite liked about it as well was probably things I wasn't fully 100% aware of. You you look at the word professional and you think what that encapsulates, the first thought is the question I probably asked you, that, you know, you can actually make money from something that you love doing and not have to worry about the other things. You can actually fully concentrate. But Nicola was talking an awful lot about how sports science, you touched on off air before we started recording, and all the other things that Rangers bring. I think what's quite good, it seems like Rangers haven't just gone, right, we're going to have a professional team. They've also given you all the tools that, you know, you should get as a professional team as well, right from the ground upwards. How much does that help, having like everything that you should have as a professional club?
Yeah, they've done it completely. They've done it properly, and what you would expect from a club of Rangers, to be honest. But literally every single thing that you can imagine, we get it. Just now it's a little bit different because of COVID, and I've not been able to actually fully experience like sitting in after training and getting your food and stuff, because we just take it away to obviously prevent any form of risk. But every small little detail, we've got GPS for our training sessions, you know, that counts our touches, our distance, our high speed running, which then helps with the coaches for the next session in terms of load. We've got individual strength programs from sports science. We get our food, as I said. Kit is endless, which is amazing, because I'll just be keeping it all. Sorry, everyone. Like water bottles. We've got analysis, so every session this week has been videoed, and we get that video sent out to us, and then we do a lot of Zooms focusing on things that we've done in training, games, how we can then take it into the next session, how we can take it into a game, like an actual competitive game. So honestly, anything that you can imagine, we've probably got it, to be honest, and we're really, really well looked after. And everyone from the boys' coaches, the girls' academy coaches, the security, the dinner ladies, everyone is so welcoming. You don't walk past anyone without saying hi to them. It's just such a good feeling within the training ground, and it's an exciting place to be, especially just now, you know, after winning 55 as well. It's only going up, and hopefully we can add to that this season.
So I was going to come to you on that later, but we'll cover it right now. The current climate, I think, in and around the training centre must be, the atmosphere must be absolutely buzzing every time you're in there.
Yeah, there's actually still banners outside the training centre saying like 55 and that, honestly, and there's like balloons inside the reception, and what a place to be just now. You can actually, we are like one side of the training centre and the men are the other side, and today I could actually hear them like all having a joke and a laugh in the other side of the training centre. They're honestly, the atmosphere just now is great. It's such a good place to be, and it just spurs us on, really. We kind of seen the celebrations of winning that 55, and I was jealous. I was like, I want to be at Ibrox, like in the change room, as if like I'm a part of it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was just like, it made us all so buzzing. I actually put a message into our group chat. It was a bit cringy, but I basically said, for you that don't know, this is what it means to people. Like, this is what it actually means to people, so this should like encourage us to then go on and really go for it this next half of the season. So
that's a really good point, and I'll come to that now. How have you found maybe some of the women that are involved in the setup just now, who maybe, and Courtney alluded to this with the Nicola Docherty chat, maybe that not necessarily didn't understand Rangers, but they've now been involved in the last week or so of huge celebrations with their 55th World League title. I just wonder how your Bala Devis has kind of had their eyes open to it, Sonia O'Neill as well. Just wonder how they've looked at it and thought, wow, this is an absolutely massive place that we're plying our trade at right now.
Yeah, I mean, if they didn't know that they were at a big club before last week, then I'm sure they certainly do now after after the other last weekend celebrations. You know, the players turning up to Ibrox with all the fans. I think as soon as you walk through the gates, as Nick actually said, it's pretty. You can see how big the club is, and I think the girls definitely understand, and they have that winning mentality that is expected of you at Rangers. And the recruitment from the staff has been really good in terms of that. There's no kind of bad egg in our group as you maybe sometimes have in a team. Yeah. Literally everyone is working towards the same common goal. Everyone wants to win, whether it be a 9-0 or a 1-0. Do you know what I mean? We're there to go and win and really push Glasgow City, especially for the title, and try and take it off them. But yeah, the mentality, which I was a little bit wary about coming in. I wasn't sure how, you know, the girls were, because I didn't know many of them. But honestly, we're all heads focused on for just winning every game. And I've seen that over the past 2 games that I've been in, and obviously training and stuff. But yeah, they definitely know they're at a big club now anyway.
I mean, that can only be a positive thing. Obviously, you're looking back to your league soon, and you just get the Old Firm, if you like, coming up the 21st of April. I mean, the training centre, when you're training for these sort of games, it must be like, this is your chance to match, you know, our male counterparts and celebrate a title together. I mean, could you imagine the scenes if the Rangers men, obviously they've won theirs, but then Rangers women go ahead and bring the title back after so many years of Glasgow City winning it? I mean, I think George Square would have to be double the size. I would be there for both clubs, and I hope everybody else would be there for both clubs as well, because it would be well deserved.
Yeah, it would be amazing. It really would. And I think now there will be a few eyes on us, to be honest, because the men have went and done it, so it's our time to shine. And that's expected of us anyway. You know, the club's invested so much money, and they've, as I said, really done everything properly in terms of professionalism. So for us, the pressure is there to then go and win silverware, go and win trophies, go and win titles. And yeah, it probably is from the club a little bit, but we've also put that on ourselves, and the coaching staff have put that on us as well, which that's fine. We'll take that, and we'll go and try and win a league. But yeah, that would be, imagine George Square. As long as there's no COVID, I'll be there.
Indeed. So listen, we'll bring it into to sort of current climate. Season this far, I think, is fair to say, has been a wee bit stop-start for everyone. One low, in my opinion, was probably the Celtic game, which I think we know about. The high at the other side of that was the victory over Glasgow City. In there as well, of course, you've got that hat-trick against Motherwell. I wonder if you could just maybe speak to us about each of these 3 and just give us an idea of how you felt on each occasion, Kirsty.
Yeah, so the Celtic game, I was actually still at Glasgow City at that stage. I didn't manage to jump over to Rangers until December. Okay. Just the start of December, just the way the contracts worked. Because of COVID, they'd changed and all that. It was a bit complicated. So I was actually at Glasgow City, and we'd beat Hibs, and heard through the grapevine that Rangers had lost against Celtic. Yeah. So we were obviously like, this is a bit awkward, because we are going to Rangers, we're at Glasgow City, don't want to seem too disappointed, because we just beat Hibs, who were kind of like City's rivals as well. So yeah, I was obviously pretty gutted to hear it, and I spoke to some of the girls that I knew, you know, people like Nick and stuff that had played in it, and yeah, they were so disappointed by that result. And I'd watched the highlights and stuff as well, and you know, they had some great chances, but just obviously didn't manage to take them early on, and then you essentially can get punished for that, and that's football. But the girls done great to pick themselves up, and then I came in on the Motherwell game, which was the second last game of the season. We were trialists, but you know, that was kind of my debut, and a dream start for me. I managed to score 3 goals, and yeah, I was kind of taken aback by it all, to be honest, because I didn't actually think I would start that game, and I managed to play the 90 minutes, I think, and then get the hat-trick as well, which then took us into the next game against Glasgow City, which obviously was a bit tasty, because we'd 2 games before that we were actually playing for Glasgow City, myself, Rachel McLaughlin and Sam Kerr. So it was a little bit of an uncomfortable situation, to be honest, but you know, we just dealt with it professionally, and we could look the girls in the eye, and we said to them that, you know, we'd done everything we did at Glasgow City, and we didn't ever kind of take our foot off the gas for the full time that we were there. So yeah, to be honest, I didn't think the 5-0 was in anyone's dreams, to be honest. I think we'd have taken a 1-0, especially with Glasgow City, you know, having won 13 in a row beforehand. Such a great experienced side. You know, players like Leanne Crichton, Joe Love, Lero, Hayley Lauder, unbelievable players. And yeah, to beat them 5-0 was a dream come true, and it kind of, for the rest of the league and the rest of the season, put a marker out for us, and that's where we want to be every game. That's the standard that we've set now against City. So can we then go and challenge ourselves and keep that going for the rest of the season? But yeah, I dreamed 2 games for me, and I'm just buzzing to get back to it, to be honest.
It's probably fair to say, I think it's fair to say we all hope that you guys win the league this year. If we look back at the end of the season, that Glasgow City tie, I think, will be quite pivotal on what you guys do between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, definitely. It was, as I said, such a kind of talking point within our league, and for us it was a good talking point. You know, people were like, oh, hold on a minute, this is a Rangers side that are there to you know, go and win the league, to really challenge Glasgow City. And they've obviously recruited over Christmas. I think they brought 6 or 7 players in, so it will be interesting to see how they settle in. But for us, we just now want to focus on ourselves, take every game as it comes. It's been a long time coming, and we're just all so excited to get back in. You know, Hearts our first game back, get the 3 points, and then go from there. Just take every game as it comes, to be honest. But yeah, it was such an unreal game and an unreal feeling to beat Glasgow City.
Graham, do you think it's fair to say that result maybe put the Rangers women's team on the map a little bit and sort of brought them to the front of maybe the women's football landscape?
Without swearing, let's just say I looked at like the teams at the start, and obviously Glasgow City have dominated for years, and then obviously Celtic have gone professional, Rangers have gone professional, and I thought, well, that's going to be quite an interesting league. That it's probably as competitive as it's ever been. And Celtic, I wanted the Celtic Rangers game, obviously, which was disappointing, because it was probably, in my opinion, quite an even game. And obviously, the last minute penalty and stuff like that. Yeah. And you think, you know, who's going to kick on from here? Is it going to be Celtic now going to kick on and kind of overhaul Glasgow City, or Glasgow City going to continue? Will Rangers maybe even sadly finish second or third or something like that? And then watching the game, I think it was BBC Alba it was on, wasn't it? Is that right, Kirsty?
Yeah,
BBC
Alba.
Yeah. I can't remember Rangers TV or BBC Alba, but you're kind of watching it and you're going, 1-0, all right, hang on, that's 3 now, right? Right.
Yeah, that was us on the park as well, to be honest.
and that's how it felt. It's like I did I did a short interview with Lizzie afterwards when she won Player of the Month, and I think someone said, you know, that game, for the way they put it, and I'm sure you won't agree because you'll want to go a game at a time, but he said it felt like a changing of the guard. And I'm sure that's what you're aiming for. So I think the fact that result had people saying things like that shows that it's the right direction and that you're going in, basically.
Yeah, you know, that's one game though, to be honest. Don't want to get too ahead of ourselves when we've still got 14 games to play. We've still to play them twice. Yeah. So yeah, but I mean, definitely a good start for us and a great way to end our season. And as I said, I'd have loved to have continued on the season at that stage because, we were flying as a team, as a squad, staff included. Yeah, we really were enjoying playing football and enjoying training, and we were all sharp and feeling good. But yeah, that break kind of came at a bad time. But as you said, a lot of people were speaking about that game, and I think for us we need to stay grounded. It's a long season, still to play everyone else twice. So yeah, we just need to keep the heads focused.
One game at a time.
Sounds like Steven Gerrard. I was going to say it's going to be one of those situations where it sounds like Gerrard one game at a time, and then come the day that he's win the league, you're going to be sliding in beer across the aisle.
Malky Thompson will be down the change room.
I think it's really interesting though.
Until it's confirmed, there's no celebrations.
I think one of the things I think is quite admirable, and I've felt it with Steven Gerrard probably since the beginning of the year, is and he uses the word humble a lot, and he spoke about how humble he's been since the start of the year. I think, despite us being so far ahead in the league, Kirsty, you guys aren't so far ahead in the league, but I think there's an awareness that there is a tide change, and you are becoming real contenders for the title this season. And while I admire you for trying to keep your sort of self level and not get too carried away, I get the impression from you tonight and Nicola Docherty a fortnight ago, there is a real there's a belief about what you're doing just now, that you're on the cusp of something pretty special.
Yeah, there is a belief. You know, we wouldn't all be at this club, and the club wouldn't have invested so much and brought us in if we didn't believe that we'd go and really challenge and win the league. It's, as I said, such an exciting place to be, and the group of players and staff that we have is really good. Whether you're a starter, whether you're on the bench, whether you're injured, it doesn't matter. The full squad are so together, and I think that's plays such a massive part. You know, your football ability can only really take you so far, and I think Gerard probably says the same. You know, all the first team players they're such a good close knit group, and I think that actually showed from the celebrations. But I think that helps you so much, especially to then go and really challenge and push for the league. But yeah, it's exciting. It really is. But yeah, as I said, just try and stay grounded, stay calm.
Listen, get carried away. It's okay. Get carried away.
I know. I wish. I'd probably get in trouble for getting carried away.
So listen, you've already alluded to the fact that the season restarts again, the 4th of April, and you guys are away at Hearts. You must just be bursting at the seams to get back into the competitive stuff now.
Yeah, honestly, we've waited so long since that last Glasgow City game, and I think that result really made us so hungry to go and really push on. So yeah, we're so excited to get back into competitive football. Hearts away through in Edinburgh. I think Rangers beat them 5-0 or 5-1 before. Yep. But again, they're a really sticky side. They're a young side. But they've got some really good ex-international, youth international players. So, yeah, we'll just go and we'll play our normal game, but we will expect a tough game. I'm sure they got a 1-0 victory against Hibs, and so they're no pushover, you know. It will be the first game back. We might be a little bit rusty, and we've got a couple of friendlies before then. So, yeah, just looking to hit the ground running, really, in that first game, and so excited to get back into competitive football.
Courtney, I think for the big picture, it'll just be good to see the women back out playing competitively, and we know from speaking to Kirsty tonight that they're absolutely ready to go.
I know it obviously must have been difficult for the women's game. They've been in lockdown, so people have kind of almost forgotten that there is a women's football league. But I think when they do come back, and you know, hopefully they start piling on the 3 points, that there will be that belief around people like, oh, Rangers women are doing mad things over there, like on the cusp of winning a league. Like, I think the fact that the men have went and won the league, I think so many Rangers supporters who predominantly support the men's team will be like, do you know what, the men's team have already won it, let's get behind the women's team. Like, they need that support as well. And God, like I said, the celebrations would be mad. And I think the Rangers support, you know, is easily the best support in the world. I think if just half of the Rangers men's supporters get behind the women's club, it would be so beneficial. I mean, it's one of the benefits I think the Rangers women have got against like the other clubs in the league. Just the support that everybody has for Rangers is unbelievable. Yeah,
you support Rangers, so do you know what I mean? Like, it's the badge, it's the club, and we come under that. So it would be great to get a little bit more back in. And obviously, just now we can't actually have fans in the stadium and stuff. But yeah, just seeing things on social media, and yeah, the club are really good for that, though, to be honest. The men and women's pages both post about us, so that's really good to keep people in the loop. But yeah, as you say, Courtney, it would be incredible to get just even a fraction of the Rangers supporters. Definitely. I think when she's back and playing, you know, like you mentioned, the social media pages, I think the Rangers, you know, social media pages will definitely be doing such a massive favour. You know, you guys will be getting results, and
you know, I think the last result he's got, they posted it. I think it was a 5-0 City win he's got, and they posted it. And I was, you know, in a sense, kind of dreading the comments sometimes, because you know what it's like. Just some of them are just, you don't want to read them, but it was sensational. Like, you could see just lifelong Rangers supporters piling on the support, and I was like, it's just exactly what they need, and you know, not a negative comment in sight. And I think that was a time I realised there's definitely a turning point here in women's football, especially in Scotland. It was class.
And Kirsty, one thing I'm quite interested in, because I know obviously, and you've admitted this on the show quite obviously, that you're a big Rangers fan. But of course, you now have an official Rangers shirt, an official Rangers squad number and stuff like that. So I can only imagine what it looks like to see a shirt that you're actually wearing in a professional game. But like, you're coming into Rangers, you happen to be signing for Rangers, all of that's happened, is gone, and then you get your shirt presented. What's that moment like when you see Howat on the back of your shirt?
Oh, honestly, like when I was growing up, I used to get Howat on my actual shirt that I bought. Like, I was that person that got their age and their name on the back. I was that person. But yeah, honestly, the first thing I done was just take a picture and send it to my dad, and he was like, "Don't send me that. You'll have me away here. Like, you'll have me crying." Basically, was what he replied. But yeah, honestly, it's such an amazing feeling. It's, as I said, any Rangers fans, dream. You know, I'm at Ibrox every Saturday and all the European games and stuff. But to actually live a lot of people's dreams, it is, yeah. I can't speak about it. I get so like.
I'll start wearing up here, man. Like,
no, honestly, it's amazing. And to be honest, as I said, when I was growing up, like I always said, like I want to be a professional footballer, and then you kind of mature and you realise, oh wait a minute, like that was everyone's dream. Like, you might not actually be able to do this. Like, you're a girl, there's not a lot of opportunities. So yeah, to do it at the club that I've supported all my life is amazing.
Because, like you said before, you're home and away, aren't you? I believe you're quite maybe even a Loudon Tavern regular sort of fan.
I don't know about that. No, I don't really go away games, to be honest, but I have been in the Loudon a couple of times just when there's no games or whatever. But I won't be anymore, definitely not. I would get my bum smacked for that. Yeah.
You should have said allegedly after that, Mr. Falk.
That's what I did say allegedly, just edited in, it's fine.
I would just be class to see Kirsty, Baladevi, like Sonia Neal and all that, just then allowed and all that. People be like, is that not the Rangers women's squad?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you see, 10 years ago, if you played for Rangers, you'd get away with that, but now there's no chance.
No danger.
So you won't be seeing me anywhere near there, unfortunately. I'd love to on a match day or on an Old Firm day, but it won't be happening anymore, unfortunately.
Listen, Kirsty, I've really enjoyed you joining us on our second pod this week. It's been fascinating to hear some of your tales, and your passion for what you're doing just now is really infectious. So I wish you the best for the rest of the season, and indeed all the ladies for whatever happens next. I'm sure he'll be very successful whatever happens next over the coming months.
Thanks very much for having me on. It's been a pleasure. But yeah, hopefully get some of the other girls on and they can share their tales as well.
Indeed. Courtney, thanks for having us on, or thanks for coming on rather. We'll do it all again in a fortnight. Graham, same to yourself. We need to try and, I don't know, is this the point where we ask Kirsty who we should try and get on next, or?
Yeah.
You know what, I've been thinking about this because you put Nick on the spot, so I've been preparing, but I don't actually know. On the spot.
Well, I've got an idea. I've got someone who I want to speak next, just purely because of when our next pod will be. So I'll take that on board and speak to the powers that be and see if we can work something out.
I want Sam on.
Sam would be good.
I think I want Sam on for the one single reason that her and Nick seem to visit every coffee shop in the south side of Glasgow, and I want some recommendations here.
They've been starting to go West End as well, by the way. They've branched out a little bit.
That's South Side loyal here, so I'll not be having any of that.
All the time, or the coffees. I think you guys must be just high on life all the time. The caffeine.
That's what gets us through.
Listen, thanks for joining us on This Is Ibrox. It's been your women's podcast. It's been Kirsty Howat, Courtney MacKenzie, Graham Falk, and myself, Scott Paterson. We will do it all again in a fortnight. We will look forward to the restart of the women's season with a visit to the Autumn Centre. So join us then if you can. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.